Hello. I am attempting to film from my laptop right now for the first time, but I just it was on my heart to just start talking, to start filming, and I just. So, firstly, happy Valentine's Day. Um, um, man, it's a lot of love, yo. It's a lot of love. It's gonna be a different kind of talk for Valentine's Day. But you know what? It's fine. We need to have conversations about stuff sometimes, things that we don't always talk about, things we don't always really think about. So I'm trying to figure out how to start this. um, Gosh, how do I start? All right, I'll start with inspiration for a sec because I just finished rewatching um, video. It was Luke Demian talking at it was one of the chosen events, like the celebration of Jesus Christ, and he was talking about Judas, and it's such an interesting experience listening to someone say like out loud a lot of the things that you've it's like that you may have thought but either had not articulated or maybe didn't expand on in your own thought. No, it's not even that it didn't expand on. It's something about listening to somebody articulate something that you've only really thought about. And I felt like it was interesting that I was led back to that video today because I feel like in the last few days, on and off, my I've just been like thinking a lot about quote unquote like villains, like the people and like that phrase that like people hurt people. And I was watching My Hero Academia the other day, okay? Um and the I was in that My Villain Academia arc, um, and thinking about like the backstories of like Shigaraki and Twice and Toga, and I know that the I know the show has ended by now, and I'm avoiding the heck out of spoilers. Um, but it was just I've always been a person who really, really hopes for like a redemption arc for there's just I have always loved a good redemption arc, okay? And I don't know if that's because one of my favorite shows growing up was Avatar The Last Airbender and I got to see, Zuko's redemption arc and ever since then I've just been hooked on it. I I love seeing someone who has maybe had a complicated past, maybe was on a dark path, find light, find redemption, find second chances. Um, as and so my brain keeps hoping for one for every time there's like a situation where I'm watching something and I'm just like, usually I can call out nowadays when someone, at least on like my shows, is likely to be redeemed, and it's usually because you see care, you see that there is still love in them somewhere. Even in Once Upon a Time, the characters who really got redeemed, you saw them care about someone or something other than themselves. Like you like there was still love in them. Whereas the ones you we didn't really see get redeemed, they only cared about themselves. They it was everything had to only they only worked in manipulation to serve themselves. It's they could care they couldn't care less about what happened to anybody else. And so with My Hero Academia, I was like twice, and Toga specifically, I'm like, I just see redemption possibility for them. Don't know if it happens. um, I but I see possibility for them. I felt the same way about Emerald and Ruby. I felt the same way about Catra and Shira and the Princesses of Power. I felt the same way about Hunter in the Owl House. I was just like, I looked at them and I was just like, nah, they're gonna be redeemed. I feel it. I just feel it. There's just something, they don't feel evil. I think that's it. It's just that they did not feel evil to me, even if they were on the wrong side. They did not feel evil. There's something there, and um, I feel like there's a certain kind of tragedy when you look at stories of certain villains and like people who went on like a dark path, or I've specifically in the last few days it's been watching like the origin story for Shigaraki's character, and oh gosh, it just it just bothered me, yo. It really, I think it's because I'm so aware that stuff like this happens in real life, and it's the same kind of effect that watching like Mufasa and seeing, you know, the origin of Scar, seeing Taka become Scar. There is, whew, um, there's just I gosh, I'm trying to put this into words. It's a certain kind of hard. It's a certain kind of painful to watch someone descend into darkness. You know what I mean? Like it's especially when it's a situation that the reasoning for their descent into darkness is because of how they were treated. It's oh gosh, it's just a certain kind of tragedy, and it's just like I just I think it's because it in my mind I come to the there's just a certain awareness that is like they could have been saved. Like they like this could have been avoided. Like I feel like there's from a very young age I've always been very drawn to like certain narratives about like outcasts, the people who feel different, the people who feel rejected, who feel alone, who there's just always been something about them that has just kind of captured my attention. And it was always a very I didn't totally understand why. It was just I felt so very connected to them. But it always kind of felt like uh I'm connected to them but not in the same way as them. Like it's like I connect to them but I don't relate to exactly what they're going through. I I I feel like it's really just a situation of always having the mentality that oh Bria, the people are going through worse things than you are, and I'm like it's I feel like for my brain it's always been just a framing of like yeah I grew up feeling different, yeah I felt rejected, yeah I struggled to feel like I belonged anywhere, and I've struggled with the mentality, the the wounds from certain rejections that caused me to become more socially anxious and feeling like I'm too weird to like I'm too weird for people to like me or to want to be my friend or for it's yeah, it's an interesting thing recognizing, yeah, this is what I'm going through, but then looking at something someone else is going through and being like, oh, but they have it way worse. Because I feel like for me, I feel like I kind of flew under the radar a little bit. I was the I was the quiet, accommodating one. I was the one who I did really well in school. My teachers usually like me, like they would tell my mom, "I'm a pleasure to have in class." Adults liked that I was kind, I was polite, I was, and but it's like I was praised for like, oh, I'm on the honor roll, and um, like I'm always getting good grades and stuff like that. But it's like I had such a I had friends. I had good friends over the years, but I did feel like I struggled to really connect with peers. I felt like no, I felt like people didn't understand me. like I it's just in it's like in hindsight I feel like I really was just operating off of a different system than a lot of people because I was very I've always been a relatively like introverted person. I've always been like very content, like doing things by myself, my like reading, writing, drawing, doing singing. uh, I was very content being in my own little world, and if I said it in a previous bit, some people saw that as boring. I'm not as extroverted. I'm not as social. I'm not as outgoing. I never really needed that. Oh, let's do this and that, and oh, listen, I didn't need a whole lot of external stimuli. No, I like I didn't need like a whole lot of external things to entertain myself. Um, uh, and people, and also I'm asexual, and I didn't know that a while ago. I didn't know that 10 years ago. Um, like it's 2026. My high school reunion is coming up. Like the for 10 years, I didn't know I was ace 10 years ago, and it's a combination of like things people I got uh, called boring. Um, Humans, I would be perfectly comfortable just sitting and watching, and humans always kind of thought I just was not like having fun because I wasn't doing things. And then it's like well-meaning adults talk about how like you gotta just put yourself out there, get out of your comfort zone, go to this event and that event, and I'm just like I don't want to do any of these things. But I digress. Move on. Not a whole lot of people called me boring, but I've it's um in combination with me and my enthusiasm for the topics of interest that I got interested in, and just watching humans just kind of not who like just not they just were not interested. They're just not. You feel when there's an absolute lack of interest and lack of enthusiasm coming back to you when you're talking about something. But it's like past that, I was also very, very enthusiastic about connecting. I I have always been someone who wanted to have like deep bonds with people. And yesterday in a conversation with my mom, I came to the realization, I think we both came to the realization I was just operating on a completely different frequency than the people typically around me, because it's like we started talking about how a lot of times when talking to people, people are very action activity based in terms of like they'll ask they'll ask you about, oh, what are you up to now, like, oh, what kind of job do you have, like when the pandemic was over, it's like, oh, what are you looking forward to going out and doing once the pandemic is over. Whereas I have always been I want to know people as people, right? I have always just kind of I longed for deep bonds, and it was very hard to find that with people because I feel like humans just often were not looking for that. They looked for people they could hang out with, or joke around with, or like do these activities with. But it wasn't. yo, I want to have conversations with you. Like that it was not I want to, I want to get to know you as a person. It has been, it's been a, I'm trying to phrase this. I don't even want to say it's rare. It's, I have not, in active pursuit of trying to form relationships with people, it it is rare that I actually got people who reciprocated that desire to know me. Like, even humans who like me, I'm gonna, for like, I do have friends. And the friends I currently have really have been people who have just stood the test of time because I have watched people just go in and out of my life, and it has always been just this struggle for me to, because I felt like I was unimportant and replaceable. Like it was like watching how like I'll still be trying to like keep up this friendship, keep up these relationships, and then just they just stop responding. Like they just don't respond, or maybe you'll get like one response and then you message back and then they don't respond again, or it's just, I've just watched humans go in and out, and I feel like I had to come to the realization that it was not me. Right? It was not, oh, that there's something inherently wrong with me, that there's something inherently unlovable about me, that human, like there's, in the last mm, mm, in the last years I've really been just on this self discovery, self acceptance journey. And I feel like in the last months, like in the last 5 months specifically, it's just been a back to back to back to back to back kind of, let me confront this thing that has been messing me up from my past and let me heal from it. It's just been this constant, like this back to back, all right, let me heal this, let me heal that, let me, because I refuse to let mess keep me from loving myself. I refuse to keep other people's lack of valuing me keep me from valuing myself. And I know that that is a space that I was in for a long time. I longed for validation, and I know that. And I reread parts of my old journals, and it honestly, it's in a way it's kind of heartbreaking, because it's like, in search, in longing for love, in longing for genuine connection, and in like these relationships with peers, or like people I dated, and just, or even if I didn't date them, it's just I I was in these situations where I wanted them to like me so badly that in a way I kind of, I don't want to say disappeared, but at the same time, I was completely unaware and of my own needs in any bond or any relationship. It was just, I was so hyper focused on other people. I was so hyper focused on them. I wanting to make sure someone else knows that they're loved, or wanting to be there for them, and constantly not feeling that reciprocated for me. I it's just such a putting other people on this pedestal, and then it was a constant me second type of mentality. And it's a very, I think of the the commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. And it's such a longing to give love, but I feel like part of that commandment I was failing on, because it says love your neighbor as yourself. I wasn't giving that love to myself. And so I was constantly ending up feeling heartbroken. And I've seen a lot of people randomly like talking about going into like some villain era, and I'm not about to entertain that. I have not really listened to those videos, but it's like I don't I don't like the mentality of, oh, cuz these people hurt me, time to clap back. Like, I no, I'm not a revenge seeker. I'm not. I'm just, that is not something I about. I also don't like the mentality of, oh, because no one else is helping me, I just won't help anyone else. No, we are stronger when we're united. So only caring about things that don't directly impact you. I'm like, I say this with the most respect possible. You're not the only person in the world. You're not the only group of people in the world. There are lots of humans who are struggling, and not everybody in a specific like group, or like a specific race, or like, they're not all bad. Like, for my fellow black people, like, not, I know we want, I know we need to lift each other up, but demonizing white people, don't do that. Truly, like, there are many white people who stood up for us. There are many white people who stand up for us more than other black people do. Some other black people I've heard talk about how they don't even believe in the Black Lives Matter movement, whereas a white person would uh, like, obviously not all in any group, but it's like, it, it's such a tempting thing to do, this us against them type of thing, but we really just need to we need to stay united. We need to move forward in love. We can acknowledge when things are not right. We can create change. I just it's so tempting to do this us against them type of mentality. It's so easy to hyper focus on differences, and but at the end of the day, we're all human. Like that song, like I'm trying to remember the name of the song. It just popped in my head. The whole "We all bleed the same. We're more beautiful when we come together. We all bleed the same. So tell me why we're divided." Like that song, like it's so true. It's like, yo, we're all human. Yes, we all bleed the same. We all have hopes and fears and pains and struggles and strengths and weaknesses. We're human. Why why is it so hard for people to see and recognize someone else's humanity? And even beyond people, like animals, nature, we're all living beings who deserve care. And sometimes people could be just so cruel, like they just don't, either they don't care, they just don't understand. Like, it's so easy to try to put yourself above someone else, because it's like you start, if you can convince yourself that you're above someone else and you diminish someone else's worth or humanity, it's easy to bypass your own conscience. Like it's like you, it's like you bypass your own conscience, and then everything you say or do to harm somebody else, it's like you've justified it in your mind, but it doesn't make it actually justified. You're still harming somebody. You're still hurting people. Why? I answered my own question. I'm just like, why can't you see that? Or do you even want to see that? I feel like a lot of us, just like humanity, like a lot of people don't want to look deeper at themselves. They don't want to see themselves for who they are. They don't want to take an actual good look at the things they've done, or because I feel like a lot of people are terrified of what they find if they actually really got to know themselves. Like, I feel like a lot of people are actually just scared of what they would find. But going back to my first point, or whatever point it was, I don't remember. But going back to the whole looking at these villain stories and realizing things could have been avoided, it makes me sad that as people, like, because of treatment, people create villains. Like, people, it's sad to see a situation where someone went on a dark path because they were rejected. it's hard to see situations where people went on a dark path because they weren't accepted. They weren't accepted for who they are. They were rejected by others. And here comes this group. That's okay, baby. Like, they weren't accepted for who they are, and then here comes this person or this group or who says you belong here. We accept you. And then it's just like they end up in situations like, oh, they've joined a cult. They've, oh man, thinking about Shigaraki's um, origin, and spoiler alert for anyone who actually has not watched, um, but seeing his backstory with like his family, how his father was like abusive, and the other family members never spoke up for him. And then it's like he was constantly getting punished. Like his sister blamed him for something he didn't do and he got punished, and then his mom and his grandparents just stood by and just let it happen, and he needed them to speak up. And then after, you know, what happens, and his quirk activates, and he's now killed his whole family, and now he's just this child wandering the streets, and everyone just passes by him. And it's just, you can't help but like, one, if someone, and I think he even said something like, if someone had stopped, if someone had tried to help him, he would not have ended up in the situation that he's in. He would not have become Shigaraki. But it's like, here this child is on the streets, and All For One comes up, and now All For One is in his head saying, you could do whatever you want, do whatever you want, kill this person, kill that person, and it's just twisted. This child just became twisted from a young age, and now he's grown. But it's like, if someone has stopped, like a lot, like the people who are like, oh, I mean, a hero will come help eventually, and it's like they never did. It's just, it just kind of makes you, well, maybe not you, but it makes me wonder, like, if someone had just said something, if someone had just, we really just need more kindness in this world, yo. We need more kindness. We need more empathy. We need more love. We just do. We're in such an era of, well, honestly, there has been so much hate and division. There's been so much anger, fear. But honestly, we need light. We need light. We need hope. We need kindness. We need joy. We need And I know that in certain situations it feels hard to even imagine those things, but it's like in the darkest times, hope is something you give yourself. That's what Uncle Iroh said. Yeah, that's what Uncle Iroh said. In the darkest times, hope is something you give yourself. You have to make the decision to not let darkness win. You have to make the decision to move with love. You have to make the decision to be kind, even when it's someone you don't like. I'm not saying be a doormat and let them like walk all over you. No, but I am saying we need to not allow ourselves to be motivated by hatred. We need to not be motivated by revenge. We need to not. And also just prejudice. We need to not be motivated by prejudice and discrimination. We're all people. We're all living beings. We all complex, complicated, nuanced. The people are more nuanced and diverse than I feel like a lot of people give credit for, and I feel like that makes a lot of people nervous. People who need to see things in like black and white, it makes them nervous when nuance and complexity and like diversity gets introduced, because now it's not their simple black and white, this and that, it's only this way or that way. It's like, nah, there's a lot of shades of gray. There is. That's just facts. That's just facts. Our experiences are different, and just because one person's experience is different than yours doesn't make theirs less valid. Just because someone's experience is different from yours, or someone loves different than yours, than the way you love, um it doesn't make one right and one wrong, right? Like it doesn't make like one right and one wrong. if if you are straight, like if you are straight and someone is gay or bi or pan or ace or aromantic, or this anywhere else on the spectrum of queerness, that doesn't you being straight doesn't make them wrong. It doesn't make them less than. It doesn't make them invalid. It doesn't. Like just because you thought something was supposed to work in a certain way and then it doesn't mean, oh, this thing is wrong and I need to force it back into this way. That is honestly, going back to The Chosen, because this started with me watching that Luke Demian video talking about, his playing Judas. Something I found incredibly interesting while watching The Chosen was that the people who rejected Jesus, like a lot, like the Pharisees, and then eventually Judas's betrayal in the Chosen, the way it was portrayed, they all had a very set idea of what was supposed to be happening, who the Messiah was supposed to be, what the mission is supposed to be, how like the law is supposed to be followed. They were very well educated. They knew scripture, and it's I find it interesting because it was almost, they developed almost a sense of arrogance. Arrogance might be the, I think that's the word. Yeah, it's like this assuredness of this is the way it is, this is the way it's supposed to be, and this is the way it's going to go. That anything outside of that was rejected. Um, and we see that very clearly through the Pharisees and through like Shmuel, and it's like it's this idea of no, this is who God. It was this idea for many of the Pharisees of they have God figured out. Ain't none of us have God figured out. God is bigger than all of us. God works in ways that are mysterious to us that we're never going to actually fully understand. But so honestly, be very wary of anybody who claims to have God all figured out, because that is a dangerous path to be on. Because it's just, it leaves no room for God to do anything new. It frames God into a box, and God is bigger than your box. That, yeah, God is bigger than your box. And so I just found it interesting that it's like with the Pharisees, they're like scholars. They know the scripture inside and out. They're so well read, and then having Judas's character also be a character who's very well educated, and he's stuck in this mentality of how things are supposed to be going, that he's missing what's in front of him. He's missing the actual mission. Gosh, I lost my train of thought. I know I was making a point with this. I think it's just the black and white thinking, the oh, I'm right, you're wrong. The way I live is correct, the way you live isn't. Jesus was a friend to the outcasts. God created all of us. God loves all of us. And who are we to cast judgments based on somebody else's differences just because they're different from us? Why do people feel the need to cast judgments? Like, people who are different from us, people who made like a mistake, and people just start defining them based on it. people are supposed to know us. And what people are supposed to know that we follow Jesus by the way we love others. You're told, do not judge. We need to start really spreading the love of Jesus to others. Like, we need more light in this world. We need more light in this world. And I still feel like good things are coming. I feel like good things are coming. I feel like good things are here. I just, something about listening to his speech, it just put like at all the pieces together for me from just the last few days of having watched, My Hero Academia, and even back to witnessing, the Taka becoming Scar and Mufasa. You just can't help but wonder, could things have been different? I know this is a heavy topic for Valentine's Day, but at the same time, I'm just like, romantic love isn't the only type of love. Romantic love isn't the only love that needs to be celebrated. We need, and love isn't always just feeling. Love is, you show love in action. So honestly, this video might just be a call to action. This is move in love. Move in love, move in kindness, move in compassion, both for others and for yourself. You learn to really love yourself. I know sometimes it's easier said than done. But you need to know you're a person worthy of being loved. Jesus saw you as worthy of dying for. And maybe for and maybe a step back for a moment sometimes and recognize the humanity of people who may be a little bit more difficult. Recognize we are all just, we all go through our different things, and we maybe if you take a step back to just realize that other people, even those who are more difficult, and those who've hurt you, you could still lift them up in prayer. Because there's a possibility that they're hurting too. There's a possibility that that person lashed out because they're hurting. That person is so mean because they're hurting. And they don't know what to do with it. I'm not telling you to go try to fix them. But lift them up to God. Healing starts from within. The more we as individuals heal, I feel like the more the world heals. So yeah, I think that's all I've wanted to say. Oh my gosh, I've been talking for a long time. But yeah, that's all. I wish you a day full of love and kindness and joy. I pray that you have a wonderful day, an amazing week, and an amazing life. Keep moving in love, y'all. You're enough. Right. Bye.